Refrigerant recovery is the foundation for life cycle refrigerant management, as without safe refrigerant recovery, there cannot be reclamation or reuse. A-Gas Rapid Recovery is an on-site refrigerant recovery service that gives businesses an easy way to contain their used refrigerants.
Not a whole lot of companies do what we do. We handle some of the grunt work that they don't want to do, and we can do it 10 times as fast as they can. The recovery portion, the cylinder exchanges, and buying back used material that otherwise can't be used.
We play a big role with our contractors, whether that be HVAC, mechanical, or demolition contractors. Our whole purpose is to get on site and not only help them save money in the project, but offer an environmental solution.
We do not want any of these products getting vented to atmosphere, no matter how low the GWP is. Now it's not only the cylinder to recover the product, but it's making sure that technicians have equipment that are rated to work with flammable gases. That's really important for people.
So by us being able to contain it in cylinders, reclaim it, we're saving the environment one recovery at a time.
My name is Mike Idle. Today I wanted to give you an overview of Amatrol's T7300 HVAC control system. This system is designed to align a hands-on workstation, as you see here, along with interactive curriculum to teach the operation, installation, application, and troubleshooting of control systems related to the HVAC industry. As components and features of HVAC systems get smarter in both the residential and commercial fields, it's important for current and future HVAC technicians to be trained up what types of circuits are used. Familiarity, learning, operation, maintenance, troubleshooting are all important areas to cover in that.
Here at NAVAC, we are obsessed with delivering the best HVAC tools on the market. Our tools are built for professionals and engineered for precision, just like Harley-Davidson motorcycles. NAVAC Nation, it's time for you to feel the power both on and off the job site. Let's stand up in our pursuit of perfection. From coast to coast, NAVAC forges the path forward. Wherever you are, we will be right beside you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on Did You Know, the ESCO HVAC show. Jason, it's a crazy time in our industry right now. Wouldn't you say so?
I would definitely say that, yes.
You know, there's a lot of conversation. There's a lot of topics that we get questions at the office, and people that are checking in with us going, okay, I don't understand. We were doing this, and now I hear that we're not doing this, but I'm not really sure because I've heard other people say we are still doing this. And it's not just like one topic. We have a variety of different things all happening at the same time. So today we're going to clarify a bunch of that for you. We're going to give you the resources so that you can help make those determinations yourself and have the correct information to give to others that are around you. So we appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to hang out with us. There's a lot of information that we're going to share today. And if you have any questions along the way, we want you to partake. Kendrick, hey, thanks for joining us, man. Kendrick is on like every week. He's going to be like one of the most informed dudes in the industry. And we're so grateful that you're hanging out with us today. And everyone out there that's joining us, let us know where you're at. I'm here in the mobile studio. Maybe one of the last weeks, I'm actually going to be moving. I've got till the 22nd to be able to move out of the house and close. We're going to be moving to another location here, probably half an hour or so from here. So we'll still be doing the mobile studio, just in a different, slightly different environment. So Jason joining us, hopefully not getting caught in tornado, which
Right. We got some weather going on just a little bit. And I know when folks tune in and they see me, they're like, oh boy, something changed. Something's going to
serious.
regulations. Jason's on the show again. Something's happening. So it's
That's
not all
right.
doom and gloom this time around. This is just an update to kind of keep you informed of, hey, there were some changes. Hey, there's some things going on. We want you to be informed as well. So I got no crazy stuff to have to say, okay, now you got to do this or now you got to do that. It's just an informative show where hopefully we can answer some of your questions as well.
Absolutely. A lot of informative resources. I actually had a conversation with an industry leader today on one of the topics that we're going to be covering today. And he said, I had no idea. Like, that's why we're going to do this update, because there's a lot of, I don't really know what is happening. And so we're going to get serious about the resources. So we appreciate all of you hanging in. Garrett joined us down in Ivy Tech down in Bloomington. Hopefully you're hanging out with some of the students today, because they're going to be enjoying this information. There's a lot of it. Katie joining us today. Thanks for hanging out with us. Katie joined us at the Skills USA competition a couple weeks ago, and we had a lot of fun. We've seen a lot of people. We did some really cool podcasts. We did some interviews with a variety of contestants as well. Hey, Adam, thanks for joining us, man. Hey, we're actually going to be covering a couple topics near and dear to you today too. So this will be right up your alley. So if you need any of these resources, we're going to give you links along the way so that you can see where this information is coming from, so that when people ask you, you go, hey, I actually heard it on Did You Know? Now I know, and here's where we got it. All right. What do you think, Jason? We ready?
Yep. So, and another thing to point out, one of the main reasons for a show like this today is there is quite a bit of misinformation that has popped up along the way, and we would like to clear some of that up.
That's exactly why we're here. We try to be your resource in the industry. We try to bring in all of the leading instructors and professionals and subject matter educators from our industry, so that you have the most up-to-date information. We've been discussing this one the entire time I've been at ESCO, so 4 years. This has been a
Seems
hot
like forever, right?
It does. And I'm still getting questions on it. Like, when is the next big change? Are things going to get really serious? So I think it's worth us readdressing this one just for a little bit, because it'll help set the stage for a couple other items that we're going to discuss today. So when we talk about the whole reason, right? Why are we phasing down? It all comes back to the 2020 American Innovation and Manufacturing Act. And I want to point out, because this is a really important addition to the conversation. Right? This was not a Biden era administrative action. This was signed by President Trump, right? So it's not like we're going to be rolling this thing backwards. There might be some adaptations along the way, but this was a bipartisan agreement. And not only that, like the whole phase down, it was put in play to follow the phase down schedule of the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol, right? So this is not just an act of Congress. This is an international treaty as well, doing the same phase down, right, Jason?
Yeah, it's as you mentioned, it passed through Congress, passed the Senate, bipartisan, signed by the president, and it does align us with the Kigali Amendment that all the other nations are doing for the HFC phase down, correct?
And so it sets the stage for where we are. Jose, thanks for joining us. I appreciate you being here today. So when we look at it, this is really one of the largest regulatory changes that we've seen since R22, right? For those of you that have been in the industry that went through the phase out, it was a 100% phase out of our HCFC refrigerants like R22. Our phase down is not a 100% phase down or phase out, but is a 85% phase down. All right.
That is significant. Yes,
it is. And the thing that most people don't understand is how it affects manufacturers and those production of refrigerants. Jason, do you mind giving your bucket analogy for everybody?
For how this phase down is going to work.
Yeah, the allocation.
All right. Yes. So when we say there's an 85% phase down, what is it they are actually phasing down? Like, how do they decide which refrigerants to phase down?
Is it?
Right. So basically what happens is every year the EPA gives out credits. And these credits are like a deposit, if you will, in your bank account.
Yep.
And as a refrigerant manufacturer, every time you produce a tank of refrigerant, it's a withdrawal from that account. And the amount that you're withdrawing is the GWP of that refrigerant. So for example, if I make a tank of R410A, it's 2,090 credits withdrawn from my account.
Mm-hmm.
But if I make a tank of, say, R32, it's only 676. So as a refrigerant manufacturer, I get to decide how to spend my credits, right?
Right.
Once I'm out of them, I'm done for the year until next year when I get my next allotment. What's being phased down are how many credits are being given out year over year. So those are the numbers that are being phased down. And it's going to be up to the manufacturers to decide, okay, we're going to make so much of this, so much of that. And we're going to see refrigerants like 404A that have a really high GWP, 3,920. We're going to see those kind of go by the wayside. And these refrigerant manufacturers are going to put more resources into the lower GWP refrigerants because they can make more of them given their credit allowance. And it is an 85% phase down. So some of them higher GWP ones are going to be harder to come by.
Exactly. It's kind of like walking into a candy store and all of the candy is priced differently, right? And I've only got so much money that I can spend. I can decide, do I want 1,000 M&Ms at a penny a piece? Or do I want one candy bar that costs 1,000, right? So it's a balancing act on what we manufacture, but it also changes what we see on the technician side, right? It's going to change the availability of refrigerants. So it's not like we can just keep on producing and then we can just say, we're just going to slow down the supply. No, it's significant based on which refrigerant. Now, the thing that we hear a lot of is, well, when's the next big change? And that 2029 drop is going to be that next significant. So it is a couple years out, but we have to be aware of it because it's what changes some of the regulations as far as equipment. And we'll get into that.
I do want to point something out while we're speaking about this 85% phase down. What this doesn't affect is reclaim refrigerant.
Exactly.
So if we, as an industry, were to recover 100 million pounds of 410A and bring that into a reclaimer, the reclaimer can clean that up and put all 100 million pounds right back on the market. So again, this doesn't affect reclaim, only, virgin, new refrigerant, imported refrigerant. If we're doing so that's where we're going to have to close this gap between what we need and what we have is through reclamation. If we're not hitting it on the reclamation, there's going to be a shortage, there's going to be a price increase, and the availability is going to be scattered. We have to invest in recovering and reclaiming.
Yeah, a big part of our success going forward. Yes, there is. And actually, I'll have some links here in a little bit. Jose, I'll actually give you some EPA links. We'll go to places where we have things like the technology transition rule and, what all refrigerants are being affected. But basically, when you look at it, all of your higher GWP refrigerants are going to be the ones that are going to have the most significant impact in the amount of their availability. Now, one of them high on the list we're already seeing, and we'll talk R410A, and we'll talk about that next when it comes to the equipment installation of R410A. So we've seen a variety of new refrigerants come to the industry since the last time that we did an EPA 608 update. Now, the thing about the EPA 608 update, we've been getting some buzz. We've been getting calls from especially our proctors going, hey, I've seen some literature coming out from ESCO that there is going to be an updated 608. Is that true? What is it going to include? What do I need to be prepared for? And we have to remember, all of us that have obtained an EPA 608, wherever you got it from, hopefully it's from ESCO. About 2/3 of all of them ever released have been from ESCO. It is our responsibility as technicians. It's in like slide 1 of the presentation. It's in page 1 of the handouts. It is the technician's responsibility to understand any future regulation updates because we're not always required to go back to class for it. It's just assumed that we will. It doesn't always happen. So there's already technicians out there that don't understand where we are right now, let alone what is changing. So Jason, let's kind of talk about where we are right now and like how the EPA has been given the authority to review where we're at.
So there has been some talk of updating the 608 exam. We actually participated in that. We did some pilot testing and we've sent the results back to EPA so that they can look at the questions, look at the answers, and evaluate the efficacy of the program. They may or may not release this new exam moving forward. We're hoping that they do because it is pretty well written and it's pretty reflective of what we find in the industry today. But there are things that are on the AIM Act that we will not see on Section 608, which is the Clean Air Act. All right, that would have to be a separate exam under the AIM Act. And at the moment, now they do have the authority, EPA does, to come out with another exam. It was written into the AIM Act that should they feel it necessary for additional certifications, especially when it comes to flammable, mildly flammable, and highly flammable refrigerants, they could establish another certification exam that would have to be separate from 608 because they are two different acts, right? The Clean Air Act and the AIM Act. So at the moment, we're just happy to have hopefully an updated version of the 608 exam that has cleaner language. All of the older stuff has kind of been removed. It's like a quality of life update, so to speak, for this exam that a lot of folks felt that it really needed. Yes.
Absolutely. That's a great way to explain it. It's a quality of life update for the 608. It is not going to be including the safety that we look at those potential applications that came out of the AIM Act, that subsection H of the AIM Act. It is improving what's already there. So be on the lookout, right? We don't have the green light from the EPA. I would say that we have that yellow light, right?
Right.
It's in review. It most likely is going to happen. And when we do, you're going to be getting contacted by ESCO.
Probably Howard. You'll get a phone call from Howard. Everybody on this. Yes, everyone watching.
Yeah, if you're an ESCO proctor, you're going to get a call from someone on our team that is going to help you understand what material you need to get rid of, what material you're going to need going forward, because it will all be updated. You'd have it end up having a updated PowerPoint, end up having a updated study guide, e-learning course, as well as certification. So it is being evaluated for an updated EPA 608. So very likely we will see that this year. There's always that potential that it won't, but you need to be aware that it's highly likely that we're going to be moving into a revised EPA 608 in the very, very near future. See, Howard's already. He's just waiting. He's got the phone.
He's already ready, right?
Give me a call.
So to be fair, we have put a lot of time and effort into this new exam. We started this and we've been working on this for quite some time to identify irrelevant content that needs to be updated, clarity in wording, those sorts of things. So there is a lot of time and resources that have been put into this test. It was pilot tested and all of that has been sent back to them and they will evaluate it. And if and when that final exam is released, we will be at the ready to have all of the material that you would need. There will be a sunset date, just like the last exam, where for a certain amount of time, you can still give the older exam while transitioning over to the new exam, but there will be a cutoff date for that older exam to say, listen, after this date, you can no longer use this. And what that does is it gives you time to update your program, update your curriculum, update all of the things that you would need if you do 608 testing to prepare for that new exam. Again, 608 regulations haven't changed. They're still the same as they were when the Clean Air Act was written, right?
Absolutely.
We've updated the refrigerants, the different types of machines and things that are on the exam, gotten rid of a lot of the older things. So like, as I mentioned, it's more of like a quality of life. It's easier to read, easier to understand, and more modernized. So be on the lookout for that.
Absolutely. One of the questions just came in, Lowell. I was looking for information on R453A. That is a blended refrigerant. That is in that HFC class, another one of them that's on that phase down. I will get some information. If you want to contact me directly, see Beck at escogroup.org. I'll be happy to reconnect later and get you anything that you need on 453. Not a problem at
There
all.
it is, right there.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Todd's back there hanging out, keeping things running for us. Appreciate that, Todd. So yeah, 453B or A, there's A and B, wasn't on this the agenda for today, but I'd be happy to regroup and talk about that because it's in part of this whole phase down. It's a blend of different refrigerants. Yes, absolutely. Stay up to date with ESCO. Now, here's the big one right now. And this is the one that we get the most calls and questions on. When we talk about the installation of R410A equipment, we went through a complete restructuring of equipment, right? Based on their GWP. Not necessarily the refrigerant supply, but how long different types of equipment could be manufactured with specific refrigerants, or at least the GWP limits for the refrigerants being used in those. And so that is our technology transition rule, 2023. And it set a lot of standards for different sectors and subsectors for the equipment that we would be installing. And that is what has moved us into the place that we are right now with the transition from R410A into other refrigerants. The two dominant ones in our residential light commercial HVAC is R32 and R454B, which is that blend of 32 and 1234YF. So how did we do that? Well, HFC phase down was limiting GWPs in general, but the technology transition rule, a separate thing, dictated it by GWP. So where were we and where are we with this one?
So what this rule, so as you mentioned, we're in a phase down of refrigerants, right? These HFC refrigerants, higher GWP. What this rule is doing is phasing out the equipment that runs on those refrigerants.
There we go.
So what the EPA has done is separate the industry into about 39 different subsectors. And then for each of those subsectors, it assigned a GWP limit saying, all right, for this sector, it is 700 and the date of manufacturing is this, which means we can't make anything above that GWP limit after this date. So it's basically a phase out for all of the equipment that run on these older, higher GWP refrigerants, again, based on the subsectors of the industry. And I believe it was 39 of them that it laid out. It also separates the industry into what we call systems and products. A system is something where we as the technician have to finish the installation. We have to run the line set and we finalize the charge, right? We top it off, do the superheat subcooling or weigh in, whatever we're doing. A product is something that is finished when it leaves the factory. It's think of a package unit, rooftop unit, window unit. It is completely finished. The charges and the refrigerant circuit is when it leaves the factory. So that is the difference as far as this rule is concerned between a product and a system.
And there was an attached date to this is the one that has changed. And this is where we have to know where it came from so that we understand it. Now, I'm going to blow this up really quick so we can see a little bit more detail on what the compliance was. So it was a manufacturing compliance, right? But we, in some cases, have an installation date.
A sell-through, right.
That a sell-through, essentially, of how long we can actually have this equipment in inventory before it can be installed. Now, the residential air conditioning, that was the one that is causing the most confusion right now. And Todd, that was a great point. What is the most misunderstood component with R410A in this transition? It is the installation of the products, because we just had a change to that. Now, Jason, what was our original?
So initially, as you can see here, for the manufacturers coming off the assembly line, they had to stop manufacturing these 410A units by January 1, 2025. After that, every unit that rolled off the line had to be less than that. So it was either R32 or R454B. And they gave us, for systems, a 1-year sell-through, which means any remaining inventory, things that you had in the storeroom or in the truck, you had to get them sold off and installed in that 1-year sell-through.
Okay.
For products like this, they gave us a 3-year sell-through for these package units. Exactly. And that is what has changed.
Okay. And so before we go into this finalized rule, we want to kind of clarify the availability of R410A because it is different across the United States. So when we were given this directive by the EPA that we couldn't install it after that January 1st date, right? A lot of distributors sold through all of their R410A stock, but it wasn't consistent across the entire country. Here in the Midwest, here in Indiana, like if I go to my local distributor, if I go to my local Johnstone Supply right now looking for R410A equipment, it doesn't exist. They clearanced all of it months ago to make sure that they didn't have to contend with these compliance dates. But there were other distributors around the country who were stockpiled on R410A and still have a significant amount of R410A equipment, which means that equipment was not going to enter into the industry in time.
It'd be stranded inventory, they call it, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So there was a change made to that. And so we want to help everyone understand. Hey, Mohammed, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate you hanging out with us. Where are you? Where is my land? I'm really curious now. So what we did is we had a finalized change. It's available in the chat. We've got the QR as well. So the finalized change, we just amended this in May.
Literally a couple weeks ago, yes. This literally just came out.
So this is the part where people get the most confused on because this is as current as it gets. And it changed a few things, especially for us. So now where are we?
Basically what this says now is you can install this R410A equipment until it's gone. There is no date effectively saying you can't install 410A equipment after this date. What this doesn't mean is that the manufacturers can fire up the factories again and start rolling off these 410A units. That's not what that means. This is for the end user, not the manufacturer. We stopped making 410A systems, equipment as a system, January 1, 2025, and that has not changed.
That's it.
So here's the thing. If you're still installing this equipment, you're installing equipment that's 1-2 years old, and by next year, 3 years old.
Right.
This is, again, equipment that was manufactured prior to January 1, 2025. So there's a lot of posts and things out there, social media type things saying, oh, we're going to start making 410A equipment again. No, we're not. Right. So this is for the end user only. This is not for the manufacturers. They have that date, January 1, 2025, and it has stood firm. Nobody's firing up the 410A assembly line right now. It's not happening.
No. I was fortunate enough to be able to go witness a lot of our equipment manufacturers during this transition, seeing the amount of investment that was made by manufacturers to convert their lines. So no, we are not. Now, will we import R410A equipment? Yes, some of the manufacturers import lines as part of their supply of equipment, but even a lot of those are starting to dry up. So it's really interesting to, there's family. Thanks for joining us. So it's really interesting to see that it is just an installation base. We can continue installing what's already out there, but once it's gone, it's gone. It's not coming back, even if you can find it right now, which I can't hardly do.
So the other issue we have here is if you're looking at some of these subsectors like the supermarkets or the retail food condensing units, what this is doing is pushing that date out a little further, out toward 2032. And the issue that I see with this is the phase down isn't stopping. So by allowing these units to be continued, to manufacture and install, we're going to create a scenario in the future where we have tons of units that need very little refrigerant available. there's going to be a battle there. It's going to set up a shortage in the future.
And that's another topic that it's very important for us to understand that, yes, we extended those dates, but it is changing our availability. Oh, sweet. Thank you for joining us from Nigeria. Really appreciate that, Nathaniel.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a international transition. We talk about it here in the United States like it only applies to us, but the entire world is going through transitions, and there are a lot of countries that are much further ahead in the reclamation of refrigerants than we are here. So there's a lot for all of us around the entire world to understand about the refrigerant supply and what is going to be the refrigerant shortage. So let's talk about
The other thing that you pointed out, he's from Nigeria. The U.S. does export a lot of equipment, and now the other countries are looking at, well, what is this equipment coming in now? What's in there? What is that, right? Because we're changing everything that we manufacture here that we send out, and they're like, all right, what's in that now?
Yeah, they're seeing, I'm sure, and let us know. I'm really curious myself, Nathaniel. Are you seeing a lot of R32 and R454B equipment in Nigeria? I imagine you are, because a lot of the supply that was coming into most of Asia and into Europe and all through Africa is R32, right? As a dominantly manufactured product across the rest of the world. Relatively new to us, but not the rest of the world. So when we talk about all of the refrigerant, even if we talk about the extension of the R410A installation date, it really has an effect on the supply of refrigerant, just like Jason was talking about. Hey, Swar, thanks for joining us. Got to get you back on the show again. I really love that podcast we did. When we talk about the refrigerant itself, we're going to get to a point in the near future where we're going to have to even start relying on some of our reclaimed gas as our only supply of service gas. Think about that for a minute. Right? We keep preaching about the importance of reclamation here because we are less than 3% of all the refrigerant in the United States gets reclaimed. The highest is France at like 40%, right? So we all do poor job of proper refrigerant reclamation and proper refrigerant leak repair. We just do. It's a fact. Now we have to focus on, it is so important that we are going to start losing our supply of virgin refrigerant for working on systems. It's a fact. We almost had it in our residential and like commercial applications, and that was not put into the process. But starting January 1st of 2029, that's going to be the most significant change for service gas as we go into the supermarket subsector, the refrigerant transport subsector, and automatic commercial ice machine subsector. You're not going to be able to use virgin HFC refrigerants for servicing those things. You'll only be able to use reclaimed gas.
So this was, again, in the ER&R rule, which is a ruling that came from the AIM Act. And as you mentioned, it requires that we use reclaimed refrigerant for service in these subsectors. And in speaking with the reclaimers, all of the different reclaimers that we see at all the conferences and things, they're nervous because they understand how much refrigerant those sectors use, and they know the limitations. They know how much they have available through reclamation. And there's a big difference between those two numbers right now. We need to really beef up our numbers. Those are rookie numbers, right? We got to get them reclamation numbers up a little higher. The reclaimers are paying pretty decent money for reclaimed refrigerant. It would be to our benefit. One, we can make a little extra money. And two, we could ensure that 5-10 years from now, there is refrigerant available for me to use to service these legacy pieces of equipment that I need to work on.
Agreed. One thing that I did want to point out was in that ER&R, it did not finalize a requirement for new HVAC equipment to have factory charge, which we were leaning that way because of the HFC phase down. We knew that after January of 29, there was not going to be enough virgin HFC refrigerant for newly manufactured equipment if we were manufacturing any, right? So we've made some sacrifices, we've made some transitions to be able to make sure that we can balance this HFC phase down so that we will have service gas, hopefully, for our customers. But it's going to rely on us as technicians and contractors to get better at reclaiming, recovering the refrigerant, getting it back to a reclaimer so that we can clean it up to AHRI 700 specifications so that it looks like it's even better than brand new virgin refrigerant. We're going to need this because we're not going to have the virgin gas, right?
We're also going to have to get on top of fixing leaks. We can't just do the gas and go like it's been a common thing that we've seen, coming up through the industry. Everybody's done it. Everybody's seen it. It's Friday. It's a gas and go. You're a little low. I put a pound in there. We're good to go now.
Yeah.
We're going to lose that pound too because that system is leaking. And because of the phase down, every pound we lose is lost permanently to our service sector. Yes, we're not going to get that back because of the phase down. So for every pound we lose it permanently. There's nothing that can come behind and replace it. So we're going to have to identify these leaks, fix these leaks, be more conscientious of refrigerant usage, refrigerant leakage, and reclamation.
Exactly. Nathaniel, great point. Yes, our HFCs are being phased out. It's actually down, right? It's not complete phase out. It's an 85%. It's because of their global warming potential, right? All of our HFCs have high GWPs, global warming potentials. And so the reason we're doing this entire HFC phase down is because of the effect to global warming created by those. And it's not just our industry.
You said the term global warming potential. They have the potential. If they stay contained in a cylinder or a unit, the potential is zero, right? They're not doing anything environmentally. So we want to try and keep them where they're at, right?
100%. The reason I threw this mugshot in, that was me back in my commercial supermarket system subsector. And that rack right there, I can no longer get the refrigerants for. That's R404. That's our low temp rack, no longer being manufactured, right? This is what's happening to HFC refrigerants. When I was there, that's probably 10 years ago. Maybe it might be a little bit more, but at that time, 404 was readily available. It wasn't horribly expensive. And I had automatic leak detection built into my refrigeration racks back then. Jason just mentioned it's changing the way we look at leak repairs. And we're now getting so serious about the leak repairs, we are including required automatic leak detection in systems. Some of our larger systems that have that largest potential for refrigerant leak to the atmosphere, which HFC refrigerants. So this is one, I've actually had this conversation with our friends at FM Hero who are on here right now. January 1st of 2026, we started implementing under the emissions reduction and reclamation rule requirements for automatic leak detection systems for HFC refrigerant, where we have more than 1,500 pounds of refrigerant in that charge in that location, right? A lot of our grocery stores were already starting to make this transition. Like I said, I was with Meijer Grocery Stores, which has the highest reclamation rate of any of our supermarket chains in the United States. That was one of the reasons. We had implemented this before most of the other grocery stores had even looked at it. We had very high standards for leak inspection, leak repairs. We superseded what was required by the EPA. We were basically doing then what's now being required of everyone else. So it falls into basically two categories. If we're doing a new installation of HFCs with 1,500 pounds, required, period. Not even an
on
option.
The installation, right?
On the installation.
Within 30 days of the installation, yes.
Exactly. If it's an existing system that was built after January of 2017, it has to be retrofitted with one. So it's becoming
by when, Clifton?
Huh?
By when? You see the date
by
there,
January
right?
2027.
That's a couple of months.
Yeah. Very limited amount of time. So grocery stores that have not complied with this are going to be in a rush to get all of this up to date by then, or they will face very stiff fines. And we'll have people call us and spend time on social media saying, well, the EPA doesn't go after anybody. Oh yeah, they do.
Low hanging
Often,
fruit. Yes.
yeah, they tend to go after the larger opportunities, these larger systems that have the larger potential, but they go after contractors as well. So, it's causing us to rethink how we manage refrigerants in general.
So if you're taking over an account, if you're working commercial accounts, you take over a grocery store that happens to have one of these units, just realize you got about 6 months to get an ALDS on that thing.
That's pretty crazy to think about, isn't
Yeah, it's not a lot of time.
it?
For
Right.
new installations, you got 30 days to get it on there. But for existing, if you're taking over accounts or signing on new accounts, you got about 6 months to get them systems fitted with ALDSs. It's coming up fast.
Yep, absolutely. And Nathaniel, absolutely. We all understand as an industry that there is that potential for leaks over time. What we're doing is we're trying to minimize and mitigate that. We're trying to reduce that as possible. Save that gas, right? That's our service gas. It's already been manufactured. It doesn't fall underneath of the HFC phase down. If we could recover and we could repair and we could save all the refrigerant that's already in systems, well, that would be our service gas going forward, and we wouldn't have to worry about it. The sad reality is we don't. We don't fix leaks properly in timely fashions. We don't use proper refrigerant leak detection, and unfortunately, we just don't recover.
We're not doing well in that area, right? We got rookie numbers on that. We gotta beef up them numbers.
Absolutely. And so from the service side, you're talking to technicians right here. Yes, we sit at the forefront of talking to, our industry leaders, but Jason and I were both technicians. Jason is still doing installations.
I do a lot.
Doing installations whenever a video opportunity comes by, right? We are out here doing these practices that you are doing. And as young technicians, we weren't always taught the best practices. So
right, the heel of the cylinder, that's a big one, right? How many cylinders, when I first got into this industry, and there's just the heel, the bottoms of the cylinders, how many of you actually recovered that, right? But if you add up the millions of cylinders where the heel is vented, that's a lot of refrigerant that we're just seeing go to waste that we'll never get back. So that wasn't one of the other things in the ER&R rules. Listen, please make sure you recover the heel of the cylinder because that's good refrigerant.
Brand new refrigerant that if it escapes, it's not coming
gone.
back. Absolutely. Okay. So let me get off the refrigerant bandwagon for a while and get on another one. All right. Okay. There are changes happening in furnaces as well as water heaters that are not understood properly. And we have to have this conversation because it's going to not just affect our industry, but it's going to affect the plumbing industry as well. We'll talk about that here in just a second. Wow. Think about that.
Look at that number. Yeah.
Just in the heel, Jason.
Right.
4.3 million pounds.
In the heel of cylinders that we're getting rid of. Holy cow.
Right.
That's a lot of refrigerant right there.
Yeah. And, honestly, Eric, I've even been re-educated on some of this. Because there was a time where it was a absolute no-no to mix refrigerants in a recovery cylinder. We never do in a system, but even in a recovery cylinder. And now they're becoming so valuable. The reclaimers are saying, it would be best not to mix them in a jug, but if you have to, do whatever it takes to get it back to us. So
right, get it to them. For you. Good point, Clifton. Very good point.
Yeah, they want that refrigerant. There was a time where if I had a burned out system, I was so hesitant on putting that refrigerant into my recovery cylinder because my local distributor was going to charge me an extra $75. I knew that was going to happen. Well, now just put it in there, get it back, let it run through the process, and it will help us all in the long run. It's going to help you in the long run. Think about that. Okay.
Changing gears. This is a tough one. So this has been around for a long time. All right. I want to say this was first proposed in 2007 and then again in 2017.
Yep.
Yeah, so this has been around for a while. This is not new, but a lot of people are caught off guard when you tell them about this. And the reason this is here today is because there was action just the other day on this in the Supreme Court.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know what we're even talking about, there were these proposed rules. There has been a finalized rule in 2023 that will look at this. It will affect the manufacturing of furnaces starting December 18th, 2028. That will require a new 95% AFUE minimum efficiency.
All furnaces manufactured would have to be 95% or higher.
So your non-condensing furnaces will
Your
be
80s,
gone,
right? Yes.
completely gone in 2.5 years.
And as it stands, this law is still on the books. That has not changed.
That's right. It's something that's been looked at. It's been questioned. It's still a go. So being thoughtful, being mindful in what our industry is looking like in the next few years is why we're here. Hopefully it's why you're here, to understand these changes that we're going through. Because you'll hear people say, oh, well, we're getting rid of 80% gas furnaces. And you have other people, that'll never happen. That's just hearsay. No, it's happening, right? And good point, Todd. California is even stepping ahead of that. And you'll see other states that are stepping ahead of that date. So at a latest date, December 18th to 28, you will no longer have standard efficiency gas furnaces.
Everything off the line has to be 95 or higher. So what do you do, like where you're by us in the upper areas here, Midwest, where we have freezing temperatures and you have attic installations where you can't put a condensing furnace in an attic because it's an unconditioned space. Your trap will freeze, your secondary heat exchangers with moisture will freeze. What do? Well, you got to go to heat pump or electric heat, right? There's some options. But this is still on the books, and the Supreme Court ruling that just happened did not overturn this. All right, it sent it back to the lower court. There was a lower federal court that said, hey, this is sound. This is okay. The justification is okay. It was appealed to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, listen, the justification that you used to rule on this was faulty. We want you to look at this again and issue a new justification.
Prepare it, re-clarify it.
And that's going to take time.
It is. So for now, it is still a go. And as long as it continues, as I'm sure it's going to, it will be a go. And so we have to be prepared as an industry for this. It will change a lot of our installation practices. It will change a lot of our retrofit practices. And we need to be mindful as industry professionals that this is coming.
Just point this out. Clifton and I did not write that rule. We had nothing to do with it. All we're doing is passing the message on to you. We're not out here campaigning for it or anything. It's something that came down the pipe, and we wanted to pass that information to you. Please don't kill the messenger on this one.
No, we are not a lobbying company. We don't have anyone on the payroll that governs, promote people. Pass the message. Howard Weiss, who's on here, has mentioned so many times, our job at ESCO is to prepare you as an industry. If it's a refrigerant change, we don't care what the next refrigerant is. It could be water, it could be milk, it could be 7-Up. We're just here to help you understand what the transition looks like and how to maneuver it. Gas furnaces. Doesn't matter to us what the next technology is. We're a proponent of whatever the next technology is. And we want to make sure that we are passing that information on to you professionally and that you have all the resources to stay up to date.
I don't know if you know this. We have a lot of good people on staff, a lot of smart and talented people here at ESCO that specialize in a lot of different areas. And we like to help the industry and anything, like you said, refrigerant, furnaces, heat pumps, airflow, whatever it happens to be, ESCO has somebody for that, right? We have somebody for that. And our job, we take it upon ourselves to say, listen, we have somebody that understands this really, really well. Here's what this means for you.
We're even venturing into the plumbing industry, whether we liked it or not, which is why we're on to this one. So we're actually going to be releasing an entire curriculum on heat pump water heaters and on the monoblock air to water systems, because those are our industry. So we're going to be cross training with the plumbing industry in a very short period of time because of this. I had this conversation just today with an industry professional. They said, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "If you don't know, let me help you understand." So in 2024, the United States Department of Energy finalized another rule, very much like we were doing for the gas furnaces, but for electric water heaters. So we are getting rid of standard efficiency electric water heaters. Okay. So we're moving completely away. Oh, I didn't put the date in here. I need, in 28, same way as the
Right.
gas furnaces,
Right.
falls under the same
Same
legislation,
rule. Right.
same ruling. So we're 2.5 years away from no standard electric water heaters under 35 gallons. So 35 gallons up to 120 gallons will all be heat pump water heaters. Every residential water heater in 2.5 years will only be heat pump water heaters. That's massive change in our industry that most people are
Huge
not aware of.
change. Right. Changes the installation from the system that you have now to a different type of system, a different type of electrical requirements, plumbing requirements. Clifton, you had mentioned that we do have a whole book and curriculum on this. Do you know who wrote that?
Another one of the ESCO employees.
I think I know the guy. I think he's pretty cool.
You might. Hey,
It was
I've
Clifton
heard
Beck,
he is.
everybody.
He's a
It was
pain in the butt
Clifton.
sometimes, though, too. So yes, I've been working on a curriculum for about a year, making sure that we have all of the information that we need as professionals, HVAC, refrigeration, and plumbing professionals, so that we all understand the applications and the installations of these products, both in the tanked and the tankless, because we're going to get there too, because we're going to see changes in the gas ones. When we look at the electric, we're going to have just this curriculum focused on the heat pump water heaters, sizing, selection, installation, as well as the monoblock air to water, because we are already seeing both of the products in Europe and Asia being very successful. I just did a complete installation on one of the A.O. Smith 900 series heat pump water heaters. So I've got a full installation video that'll be available in the near future. Best practices. Bradford White is sharing all of their step files to be able to build a visual 3D Academy training module and courses for all the different components, because it is an HVAC product. So it is an HVAC product blended with a hydronic product. And it's going to be something that we will be tasked to understand. The plumbing industry is struggling to adopt it because they would have to get EPA 608 certified and understand the refrigeration cycle and all the practices that we already know. We, as an HVAC industry, shy away from it because it's got water. It's just another media. All we do, we're in the business of moving heat, right? Does it matter how we move the heat? Not really. That's our business. So be prepared, be on the lookout. Every classroom in the United States should be looking right now at introducing heat pump water heaters into their classroom. Just saying. All right, let's look a little deeper in the same regulations. Let's look at gas water heating. Not as much of a change, but there will be some changes to the gas side based on whether it is a tank type or whether it is a tankless. So what we're going to see is we're going to see some modest increases of efficiency of our tanked water heaters. But what we can do, which we've already seen, we can actually go to a power vent style and not have to go into a condensing. So we're increasing the efficiency without passing the condensing temperatures of the flue gases to where we're required to have, secondary draining and exchanging.
That's a big deal.
It is.
Because the venting on a condensing, you can't tie into a chimney or any other vent. It has to be its own dedicated vent. You got to drill a hole in the side of the building. And yeah, that becomes a big problem.
Exactly. So you will see some slight changes in that, more so in the efficiency, but in the flue. So we'll see changes in the way that we are drafting the tanked style. The tankless will also see some changes. Now, currently, there's not a phase out of the non-condensing, but it has been recommended that we phase out the non-condensing and go to a condensing. Currently, that is not part of that finalized process. We will see an increase in efficiency of some of those. So be on the lookout for additional regulations that could change on both the tanked and the tankless by the time we get there 2.5 years from now. But it really it shows our entire industry is changing, and all of our standard efficiency products that we have gotten comfortable with over time are out the door in a short period.
So all of this was all part of a singular type push by the Department of Energy for energy conservation, and it's something that we need to be aware of. Our furnaces, electric water heaters, gas water heaters, tankless water heaters, all of these things are scheduled, if you will, in 2.5 years to change. And we're here today in 2026, July or June 11th, bringing you this information today. So you can't say 2.5 years from now, holy cow, what's this new rule? It's not new.
Talk about this. Yeah.
We're talking about it right here, right now, to let you know, hey, look, if nothing changes, this is how it is on the books right now.
That's exactly right. And if things do change, we hope that you come back. We will do additional industry updates just like we have done today. And I hope this has been good information for all of you. I hope you've taken the moment to look at our industry from a bigger picture to understand the changes that are happening, because many of our educational programs have to budget for our equipment changeouts, right? We have to be able to look at where our classroom needs to be a year or a couple years down the road and start putting plans into play so that we have action items. And this is where it begins, understanding what the changes are coming so that we can prepare our classroom for the future of our industry. Woo.
Yeah, it was a lot, right?
It's a lot. Any questions out there? We still have a lot of people hanging in. I'm glad that you're all joining us. Mr. McNabb, I'm glad you enjoyed that. This is such good conversation for us to have. We're grateful that you took time out of your busy day to hang out with us. You know, there's a lot of people looking at ESCO right now because of this. We're starting to see a lot of new names and new faces on the show, and we're blessed for that. It's because of the outreach that we're doing, and really, it's being driven by the changes that are happening right now in our industry. You know, ESCO has always been this in our industry. You know, they've always shined when we've seen transitions, and this is just another transition that we are here to help get you through. So if you need any help, we encourage you to reach out to us. We are still a phone call company. We want to talk to you, all of us. We are all accessible. Give us a call at our customer service. If you need to talk to one of us specifically, ask them if they can transfer. If we're available, we will answer that phone. And oh boy, there's a great one. We have some very good friends at Nora, and actually I had them on the show. It's been a little while. I need to get them back to talk about the transitions that we are seeing in the fuels, because we have a lot of things happening in the oil side. All right, so yeah, I'll make sure that I reach out to Bob and our friends at Nora, and we'll do another update on what's happening there, because it's probably been a year. Good time to regroup with all them.
One other thing I'll throw out there is keep an eye on the ESCO newsletter. If you don't subscribe, we publish these regular little blurbs in that newsletter about some of these changes and links to some of these things that you can dive in deeper to. We always have some little cool tidbit of something in the newsletter regarding all of these changes and reminders. So especially with the possible update of the 608, again, the newsletter would be a good place to tune in and find stuff like that.
Exactly. You know, there's another one, Todd. Great point. You know, especially on the fuel side, there's a lot of people that are completely unaware that we're starting to ban natural gas connections. Many jurisdictions around the country, not just California. I mean, it's all over the country.
New York was another one, right?
Yeah, a lot happening there. All right. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up unless there's any other questions. Jason, anything else that you want to cover?
No, I think we did good.
I do too. Well, we thank you all so much for joining us. We look forward to hanging in with you every week, and we will see you all again next week on Did You Know? The ESCO HVAC Show. Bye, everybody.